Life of or Shape of Water was the one that we watched in class. So he went all the way from like the start to the modern day. He was a really good professor. He's one of my favorites.
Did you like Shape of Water?
It's not like, I don't look back at it and I'm like, it was the best movie I've ever seen. I thought it was very artfully done, and I like Guillermo del Toro's like visual style is very interesting, and it's always like strange and very like, monsters that you've never seen before, and I'm kind of into that, but it wasn't my favorite movie or anything. It wasn't, I don't look back and I'm like, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I'd watch it again probably, but do you ever see it, Rob?
I did.
You like it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason that I have intense feelings about it is because it won the Academy Award for Best Picture.
It did,
and
yeah.
I said, what universe am I in where this is considered the best picture of the year?
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Do you remember what won or what was against it that year?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I don't think it was a strong year. I think it was a pretty weak year.
Yeah, but
there was something out there
good?
that was better than that.
You guys good? Yes, no? Doesn't look like it. No, yeah, but he one of my favorite movies he showed us was Rebel Without a Cause, which is turned into one of my favorites and is very interesting. I like how old movies don't have the sort of like years, 40 years of figuring everything out so that it's perfect. It has.
Your FP on?
No, he doesn't have an IFP.
Oh, that's why.
You're trying to talk to him?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want me to put one on? I could put one on.
Huh?
I can put one on to create
No,
so we
I
can
just wanted to
communicate.
ask if it's self-contained or alternative.
I don't know. I don't even know that we have enough of like an intro to do anything for that. So we can just kick it off and just start.
You guys were conversing?
Yeah.
Is this going to be edited into something else, or is this okay? So
Yeah,
this
is like a
standalone.
piece of a bunch of students are sending in there, and I just sending in a little bit, produced up version of mine.
Yep,
So.
gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen Rebel Without a Cause since I was in college, so it's been a while.
You should watch it again, Rob. It's a really good, and
should.
it held up very, very well as far as like, I felt like, I was watching a movie about me versus my parents, that sort of, none of, the themes in it are very strong and universal, and it's such a good movie. And James Dean was fantastic in it. All right. I'm ready. Are you ready? Okay. Should I just start talking?
Yeah, this is your show.
Yeah.
Volunteers
Along for the ride, yeah. Okay. I guess I'll start with sort of like a background, because I think it's important for me when I talk about Huey to kind of explain where I was in my life when I met Huey. I had gone to SMCC originally the year after I graduated high school in 2014. I went to SMCC for a semester. I was promptly kicked out. I didn't go to classes a lot. I, had fun college times for about a semester, and then kind of got into a rut in my life where I was, I don't want to say depressed or, use any of those like deeper words, but I was definitely in a pocket of sort of like self-loathing and not being able to do anything or get anything done because I felt like I was kind of worthless at that point in my life because I had literally been kicked out of community college. I was like, wow, like I took like a good half a year to kind of get myself back together, and then I started working a different job. And then for about a year I stayed outside I didn't go to college. I was kind of figuring out everything. And then eventually I decided to go back. And when I went for the first time, I went for horticulture, which ended up being a completely different degree from what I ended up doing, which was communications and new media. Yeah, completely opposite ends of the spectrum, basically. But when I came back is when I met Huey. And through his courses, it was interesting. Like Huey was never like, I never talked to Huey a whole lot after class or anything. I was never really a student that, talked to my teachers a lot, but the notes that I got from him on my papers and sort of like, I lived for those notes a lot of the time. I love being critiqued in an odd way. I kind of am like a very, I like people to analyze what I'm doing and say, this is what you're doing good and this is what you're doing bad. And Huey was very, very good at that. Like he was very good at picking out the things that and I agreed with him when he picked those things out. He was accurate in his descriptions of what was wrong with what I was writing. And I haven't had too many professors in my life or teachers where I felt like what they were correcting of mine, I was like, because writing's very, objective. You can't say this is right and this is wrong. You can kind of in grammar and stuff like that, but there's no, artistically you can't say what you're writing is incorrect. It's an artistic feeling. So Huey was very good about respecting your artistic vision while still maintaining you need to create a story that's well crafted at the same time. And that was a huge part of Huey's courses, and something that I take with me to this day. So, yeah.
I think the first time that I ever heard of him was when I started working here at WCSH. So it would have been 1984, maybe 1985. Mm-hmm. And in one of the edit bays, there was a shelf that had all these random tapes. And one of them, this was back in the day of big 3/4-inch tape, and there was a big box up there. And it had the title of the film, which I can't remember now, but below that it said, "A Film by Huey." And I thought, who's Huey? One word? What's with that?
Yeah.
But it was there for years, and that was my introduction to Huey.
And that's a lot of people's introduction to Huey is just Huey, because that's his brand, that's his website, Films by Huey. That's his whole, brand is he's just Huey. And if you know Huey, you love him, and I think you totally understand him. And I think he's a very, very good person inside and out. I think he's very respectful in how he teaches, and he still gets you to the point that you need to get to and everything. And his filmmaking is actually very impressive too. I actually went to one of his screenings when I was a student. He had a movie come out about Henry David Thoreau, where he did a documentary, and I went with my parents because I was like, they'll enjoy this. I might not, so I want to bring someone who will enjoy Henry David Thoreau. I did end up enjoying it, and I love introspection and stuff like that, so it did end up being a good story for me as well. But it was really interesting to see. I'd never been to a place where I saw a teacher or professor in the wild. I'd never seen, even in high school, I'd never seen a teacher out and about, just doing at Hannaford or something. And seeing Huey out in his element was really cool, and it was really kind of inspiring in a lot of ways to see this guy who, is in his later years, I'll say, is still doing something he's so passionate about, and it took him 10 years, he said, to make it. And at his age, I don't know that I'll want to work on something for 10 years straight that's, still not coming out. And he pressed and got it made, and it was a beautiful film as well. So he's a very talented man.
I think Huey ran to a large degree on passion and determination, because I don't think he ever had much in the way of funding to do projects, so it would take years to do them. And it only happened because these were movies he wanted to make. These were stories he wanted to tell.
Oh, 100%. And I don't think you're right. None of those films get made if Huey isn't the one behind it and the one pushing it, because he really had the passion, and you can tell he cares deeply about film and the artistic form and what film aspires to be and what he wants it to be. And I think he tries to ingrain that in all of his students, and some take it, some don't. But I think it's a good lesson to learn, and I think I took a part of him with me in my travels that helped me a lot in my filmmaking career.
He was a guy who was putting documentaries out at a time when documentaries weren't nearly as popular as they are now. We live in a golden age of documentaries, and there are so many terrific documentaries out there. But again, when I first became aware of Huey back in the 1980s, it was far less common to be making documentaries back then. For one thing, it was more expensive because you were probably shooting film, or if you weren't shooting film, you were shooting videotape, and it just wasn't as easy as it is now.
You had to have a separate audio guy always,
Nowadays, you can make good film on an iPhone. That was utterly inconceivable back then.
Yeah.
And so, there weren't a lot of people making documentaries in Maine, based in Maine in the 1980s and 90s, and Huey was the guy who, kept going forward, kept plugging away, and making films.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Of course, I wasn't alive during that time period. I won't say that I was, but I do have sort of an idea of how, through stories and everything, how it was back then, and that's very true. It was so much harder to make anything back then because you had to have all the pieces to come together, and it was just a lot harder to produce anything. You're right, nowadays you can just whip out your phone, take a video, and it's 1080p and it looks good, and no one's gonna say like, oh my God, I'm not gonna watch this video, it's shot on a phone. Everybody watches phone videos now, there's no argument. And I think that honestly having that beginning is important for filmmakers nowadays. I think it's important for us to keep that sort of ideal, that we should keep it a craft almost, and try to strive to. And I love iPhones. I love the idea of iPhones, but I do think there is something more beautiful and more touching about the physical act of like getting out this whole crew, having the camera, having the sound guy, having all this stuff behind you. It really, there's something iPhones just can't quite touch in that way, and it always comes across clearly on the screen. And I think Huey was an important, he handed that down to his students of I learned in his classes, a lot about cinema verite and, various shooting styles and how they used to shoot and how crazy and hard it used to be to shoot. How, you accidentally drop your film in a puddle, you lost your whole movie. It's gone. And, if you didn't have backups. And nowadays it's so much easier. And it's impressive to me that through all that, Huey would push for that. It is an impressive feat. And I don't know, it's something I thought about while I had his classes too, just sort of, that he's an impressive man, I guess, yeah.
I remember he made a film on Katahdin.
Yeah.
And at that time, just getting close to the base of the mountain or getting up the mountain with all that gear would have been a serious physical undertaking, to say nothing of the thinking and the creativity that goes into the shooting of a film, but simply hauling all that gear around back then would have been a lot of work. And again, it just shows the commitment that he had.
He didn't have a village really either, I don't think. I think Huey was kind of doing it, and then maybe he had a couple people helping him, but Huey was kind of out there just doing it. And that's, I don't know, I love that style of filmmaking, and I feel like it's so pure and just so of the person that's making it, and very relatable in that way, because it's just, of a person, and so many people can connect. People just love to connect, so. Yeah. Hold on. If you don't mind, Rob, if you could ask me something that I'll never forget that Huey taught me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I understand there's one thing that Huey taught you that you will never forget. What is that?
Huey, there's one thing that you taught me that I will absolutely never forget, and that is the hero's journey. Oh my God, Huey, every single class, hero's journey, every single paper I wrote, the hero's journey, and how my character was traveling along it, or how these main characters were. It was all about the hero's journey every single time. It's the most important part of a film to Huey, I think, especially in its storytelling, is the hero's journey and making sure there's a 3-act structure to it. I think he hammered that over and over and over. I saw so many kids that would hand in, paper after paper after paper, and he'd write the same old thing on it every single time. Please, it needs a journey. There needs to be a beginning, middle, and end. There needs to be something that happens and pushes him into a new world. And that was definitely by far the thing I remember most about Huey's classes. Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. I think that's it. I'm just going to say good luck into this camera to Huey. Let's see. I'll just say, Huey, after 15 years at SMCC, I know you've at least impacted one person heavily. I know that you changed my life in a lot of ways that are kind of underneath the surface, and I don't think you would even realize, honestly. I came into your courses very, very raw, never having an artistic bone in my body, really. And your courses really made me pull through and think I'm an artist, and from the first paper I wrote, you took it seriously. And that's something that I think is underrated, is like taking someone's art form seriously the first time they show it to you, because it's obviously imperfect and it's most of the time terrible, but there's something about you taking it seriously and having it be, I want to push you forward and I want to help you, that was really important in my life and led me to be where I am today. So I want to say thank you, Huey, and I want to say that I wish you the best of luck in retirement and enjoy it. Take it easy, or make movies, do whatever you want. I hope you make more movies because I want to see more movies from you, but take it easy and good luck. All right.
Very nice.
Thank you. Whew.